Okay, now what we've got over here is this is the next part of your futuristic tank. Cardboard. Cardboard works really good for this type of stuff. Now, if you don't have a very tiny hole punch to make little bitty holes like these, which takes a leather punch to do that, then you can do a couple of different ways. If you have one of these handy dandy dental tools, these work really good for making holes, because all you got to do is you just kind of start punching your holes through. They work really good. You can make any size round hole that you need with one of these things. So, and then once you get that, then you got your hole. And for an axle, ta-da! It works really good. But if you don't have one of those, you take a straight pin like out of your sewing kit, and you sandwich it between some heavy cardstock. A lot of pieces glued together to make this. Paper works too. The more you glue together, the stronger it becomes. It becomes just like, plywood. So anyway, then you can take and do the same thing. You just punch your holes. And I've used this little tool right here for 12 years, 11, 12 years now. I guess it isn't 13 years until the end of the year. But anyway, that's what you do. And you do it on top of this because it lets you punch through and not actually ruin your table. And so there makes your little holes that you need for your axles. For these axles, you need a lot to make wheels. As you can see here, well, I'm done with that now. Well, not yet, almost done. So once you get all of your wheels cut out and your holes made, then you start putting them together in various I change these up all the time because you put them together, you take them apart, you put them together, you take them apart, because you want everything to be as uniform as absolutely possible. And when you're making wheels, they have to be round. So you just keep putting these together and taking them apart. And the reason being is each time you put them together, you sand them down. And then you take it apart and you move all the pieces around, and what you're doing is you're giving yourself a chance to get the high spots and the low spots evenly matched all the way around. And by evenly matching, you get a much better wheel. Okay, once you get those back on there, you just squeeze them together like so. And then you take your sanding block and you just start working it around like this. Now, it doesn't show a lot of what I've done, but this is like the 12th time, 10 or 12 times I've done this. And I'm getting almost perfectly round wheels now. And so you have to do that with every set you build. Yeah, it takes some time, but it makes for a beautiful model when you're done. And there's what you got. And if you're into making toys, you now have a top. So now we're going to go over to what I've already done. These are the large bogey wheels that are going to be that main tank track. And so what I've got, as you can see, I put my spacers in there because this is what the tracks are going to roll on. And if you have it properly done, it's smooth. And you're going to need a bunch of them. I need 8, 4 on each side for the big ones and 4 on each side for the little ones. As you can see, I keep my marks lined up. With that glued there, then you hold it for a little while, and you can take your excess glue and wipe it off. You don't really need it. Also, if you don't wipe it off, it just ends up taking longer to dry. Put it in different places. And the nice thing is, these are really easy. They're 1/2 inch, so that your tank tracks are going to be about 1 1/4 inches wide, because you're going to have to stick out over the edge so that your tracks will stay on these bogies or trolleys or whatever they want to call them. I think in tanks they're called a bogie, but anyway, once that sets up a little bit, there you go, that's ready to dry. And you're on to your next one. And since I already have all these nice little skewers made, and anytime I feel a little rise in something like this, I like to take and sand it off, because it makes everything fit better. You put that on there like so, and then you take a little bit of glue. Yep, that was a waste. Oops, I knew I forgot something. Okay, take your 4 pieces and you line them up together like so, and then you sand them off, because no matter how good you are at cutting, you can't always cut your exact sizes, because you're cutting by hand, it's not die cut. And I always flip things over and turn it around and put a different one here and a different one there and move it around, so that what you're doing is you're squaring everything up evenly. Once you've got them squared up like that, then you want to glue them on. And since my glue doesn't dry as fast as the old glue, because it's a little bit thinner, I didn't have to worry about re-gluing these. And that is the start of the next set of trucks. While things are drying like that, I went ahead and started building the chassis parts. Now, these all go together, it becomes one solid piece. And what I have to do is, these are going to have to be put on here like so, and there's going to be an outside piece that'll hold them in place, but this is all going to have to be able to spin. Here's a little fun fact. I built both of these the other day, and I went ahead and noticed that this piece was on the outside of here and realized that I'd built two left sides instead of a left side and a right side. So it's always a good idea to mark your parts. That way you don't have to tear it apart and fix it, which is what I had to do with this one. Anyway, so once you've got to this point, you're going to need to washer this out, because your tracks, if your tracks are too tight, they won't roll properly. And so, yeah, that means I gotta make about, oh heck, 1/4 inch worth of spacers there, which is, it's not that it's difficult. It's not that difficult. Once you start making your spacers, it's pretty easy to do, because actually, if you just take and glue pieces of cardstock on here, on this side and up here and over here, you can build up 1/4 inch worth of spacers really easy. Spacing stuff out, not hard. Yeah, just time consuming, but it has to be done. Otherwise, your parts won't work. And so, yeah, I think I showed part of this build the other day, possibly. So now I'm back to this point where I'm at. Here. I've got to make these holes work. And so ta-da! And there is your left side and your right side ready to put your wheels on. Takes a lot of planning ahead, and sometimes you have to backtrack a bit. So, and as you can see, I've got my gun set up. This is going to be the turret mount, and I'll probably cut this off with my Dremel tool, and which I found very handy. So if you have a Dremel, there's a lot of things that's going to be a lot easier to do. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.